There's you can see multiple tails, at least two from here, and they all look exactly the same because they are. They just have different numbers. Kind of a cool thing on the tail of it, you'll see like this blue strip. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but it says Hurricane Hunters, and they're kind of they're called tail flashes. They're historical because they actually say which squadron that actual airplane belongs to. So and that's just kind of it's like our logo, it's our brand. So it's on our little tail flash.
Well, that's neat. And I know you had mentioned this earlier, but we had some new people join us. How much does your airplane cost?
About $60 million.
$60 million. Okay, that's amazing. And you said that during the storms, sometimes it can be 13-hour days. What do you have, like a regular Monday through Friday work schedule, or do you only work when there's a storm?
No, we work all the time. We pretty much have 24-hour operations.
Mm-hmm.
When it is not storm season, we're pretty much Monday through Friday, and the normal business day hours. But we often fly at least one night a week. It's for proficiency, so that will be one thing that will change. And then at least once a month we work with one weekend. Half of our unit is full-time, and the other half of our unit is actually part-time employees. And the part-time employees come from all around the entire world, and they do different things from, as you would imagine, a lot of them are airline pilots, but we have entrepreneurs, people that are in politics, stay-at-home moms. So they all come in on these weekends and train, and then during the winter we kind of sustain the training and different missions, and then in the summer these part-timers come in and help us out during storm season.
Neat.
So one of the aspects of it is, like we said, it's just like every other C-130. So you guys will see the static line right here that hooks up to the paratroop door. So we can get paratroopers that they would use their things and they would hook onto these, and then they go out the two windows to be paratroopers, and that's where they would exit the aircraft out there and then make their way down to the ground. We can also make this a flying hospital, so we use these things here, and we make actual beds for people, so we can turn it into a hospital back here. So we do a lot of other missions during the winter months besides storms. And one of the things she's talking about is we a lot of times will fly wounded warriors home from once they get into the United States. Well, this airplane can stop on a dirt runway, very short runways. It's very versatile that way, so we could fly into somebody's hometown in Montana and get them home safely. We're known for being hard, but there are other things that we actually do.
Wow, that's amazing.
We had someone else ask, we've had this asked a couple of times about how dangerous is this job, and has anyone ever got hurt or unfortunately killed during a mission?
We have this aircraft has not gone down since 1974, and that happened in the West Pacific when they were flying into a storm out of Guam. So it's been a really long time since an aircraft went down in the storm environment.
So it's risky, but
right. So as far as safety goes, I can tell you what, I'd rather be in an airplane than on the ground in a hurricane in a heartbeat. It's actually a lot safer to fly through them than it is to be on the ground.
Right.
So that is true. Yes, of course, there's inherent risk in any kind of job in aviation, but we have an incredible safety record, and we really have had very minimal incidents since then. But we've had a few injuries from a couple bad turbulence spills here and there, but nothing substantial.
Okay. Well, I know you said earlier that it was just a regular airplane like the rest of them, but are the wings specially reinforced for you guys, or anything special about the wings?
There's nothing special. There's nothing special with the wings at all. There's nothing special for weather avoidance whatsoever. The only thing is we have a couple instruments on the outside that are specially mounted for weather reconnaissance for the weather data. And then our actual radar has a more defined algorithm so that we can see through some of the worst weather. See, most people would avoid the weather, but we have no option sometimes that we have to actually fly through thunderstorms, and therefore we needed our radar to be a little bit more higher resolution so we could see the worst of the worst, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. As far as the hurricane forecasters, what do you use the wind speed data for and the other data that you get?
Well, we are truly data collectors here at the Hurricane Hunters, and we are our actual boss or tasker is the National Hurricane Center, and they're the ones that actually make the forecast. So what they want the winds for is for their public watches, warnings, and advisories, and therefore they can actually tell the public this is what you're going to expect. And that's one thing to note too, is that we fly into all 4 quadrants of a hurricane. We actually do an X pattern, and we usually do the X pattern twice. So we sample every quadrant at least twice, and during one mission, and that helps with the watches and warnings, because anyone that's ever been affected by a hurricane knows that there can be huge difference between, say, the northeast sector and the southwest sector, and then where that actually makes landfall is going to matter as to what kind of warnings to give. Wind speeds also affect storm surge, and down here in the Gulf Coast, that's a really big deal, so they'll be able to use that for their calculations of what to expect for the storm surge.
Well, that is very interesting.
Can you tell us the difference? You know, the question has come up about Category 5 hurricanes, and you say that you mentioned a couple hurricanes that way out in the ocean, that they're 5s, and then they come up closer and they drop down. So what are the specifications that makes a Category 3 different from a 4 and different from a 5? How do you determine what category a hurricane is?
Sure, I will let Lisa take that one.
Hey guys, so the difference between a Category 3 and a Category 4 and a Category 5, there's a few factors that determine that. So we're going to take a look at the wind speeds. The stronger the wind speeds are, the stronger the storm. To have a Category 5 storm, you need to have at least 135 knots. So that is going to make Category 5, and it also has to do with the central pressure. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. So for example, in Hurricane Patricia, because that was the last one I did, we saw a central pressure of 885 millibars, which is really, really, really low. Typically for a Cat 5, you're going to see in between like 920, 930 millibars, and you're going to see wind speeds of about 135 to 140 knots. So the stronger the wind speeds and the lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. So for Category 3, you're going to see about 96 knots to 110. For a Category 4, I think it's 111 to 135, and then Category 5 is about 135 plus knots.
That's exciting. And so knots, how does that equate to miles per hour?
For Category 5, I believe 135 knots is 155 miles per hour.
Okay.
So not.
It's funny. We don't actually worry about the categories so much as far as meteorologists are concerned, because to be honest with you, when Katrina made landfall, they now are saying it was a Category 4, and as far as I'm concerned, if it's a Category 3 or above, it's bad. I'm serious. It's considered a major hurricane, and it can do just as much damage as a Category 5 in a lot of senses. The categories were truly invented to help the public to realize whether or not how significant the storm's actually going to be.
Yeah, someone wanted to know about how many storms have you actually chased? Out of all those years you've been doing this, can you guess how many storms you've been flying over?
I've maybe been in about 10 hurricanes, I think, give or take some. I'm not sure. I don't really keep track of it.
Yeah, I probably should figure this out someday. It's a common question. I just know that I've made over 100 penetrations. It doesn't mean I made over 100 storms, because sometimes one mission will be 4 penetrations, and I can fly the same storm 3 or 4 times. So I don't honestly know. I will tell you that some of the most dangerous missions we do are not in hurricanes. They're actually in tropical storms or tropical depressions. When they don't have a name yet until they make a tropical storm. So tropical depressions are where the storm's actually building. And a lot of times when they rapidly build like that is actually where you can get a lot of really severe weather. And those have been some of the most trying missions I've actually had, weren't even named hurricanes.
So what does your family think about your job? Because it's clearly a non-typical job. What do they think about what you do?
I will answer that first. My children don't know any better, so they don't think anything of it. I just think they think that this is just what mom does, no big deal. And then as far as my mom and dad, I remember my first penetration I ever did in 2005, and I called my dad, who was still here then, and we actually had at the time you could call like a radio operator on the ground, and he would phone patch you in. And I had him call my dad and tell him I was in the middle of a hurricane and how exciting it was, and he told me to please hang up and call him when I landed. Well, he didn't want to hear from me until then, but Lisa, you can answer that question.
My parents think I'm crazy. My whole family thinks I'm crazy. And my mother has a very strict rule in which I cannot tell her that I am going into a storm. I can only call her when I've landed. And in fact, when I was flying into Hurricane Patricia, I was sitting here on this plane, and she called me. And I answered real quick. I'm like, hey, Mom. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night when we took off. And that's a little bit later than our normal night flights take off. So she called me. I'm like, hey, Mom, like, it was really loud. I'm like, I can't talk right now. I'll call you tomorrow. And nobody knew that it was going to be the historic Hurricane Patricia flight that it was for us. So I called her the next day, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm actually about to be on CNN in 10 minutes. I just flew Hurricane Patricia if you want to turn it on. She was shocked because she's not allowed to know beforehand.
Okay.
As a mom, I can appreciate that.
Yeah. So they think I'm crazy.
Well, let me see. Can we take a look at the patch that's on your sleeve?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our Hurricane Hunter patch that we...
So we're going to go in a second, yeah.
That is cool. You look like a superhero. Can you tell us a little bit about your uniform, if your clothes were specially made or if there were any special material?
Yeah, so our uniform, you have to wear a cotton t-shirt underneath, and then this is fire retardant. So that's why it covers all the way from your neck, all the way down to your shoes. And then we also wear gloves when we're in flight for when we're doing some of our duties. So we have it covers all the way up. That's why it's kind of like a big, comfortable onesie.
A big onesie. They're really cool outfits. They really are. So I think we're going to bring this in for a close.
Well, that's perfect timing.
That's perfect timing because the airplane's a taxi and a takeoff if you'd like us to bring it outside.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes, please do.
Okay.
It's going to taxi on the outside.
Okay, just hold on. I got to switch this. I need 2 hands to get out of the airplane. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's really windy out today, so it might get you might not be able to hear us too well. You can see it's so windy that they actually had to chain down the airplane so it wouldn't get damaged on the ground.
Wow. How fast is the wind blowing today?
Oh, you know what? They're actually, because there's maintenance on the airplane, it's going to be a while. They're going to have to taxi all the way back because of the wind. So I'll give you a tour of the base. They're way down there. They're going to have to taxi all the way down here, turn around, and then take off. So it might actually take a little bit longer. If you guys want, I can videotape it once I get off the phone with you, and I can send you the video.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome. Just so sorry for the technology screw up.
No, that's all right. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day.
Oh, you're very welcome. You got me out of the office. Thank you.
Oh, well, great. Well, we hope to hear from you again. And if we have any more questions, feel free to send them on. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. Let Lisa. Bye.
Bye.